Have you ever sat by a warm fire and felt like you weren't alone? Not in a scary way, but as if some presence was watching, quietly waiting. Stick with me, because by the end of this story, you might never look at a winter fire the same way again. It was almost Christmas, and everything outside was covered in snow. My house smelled like pine needles, cinnamon, and wood smoke. The Yule log sat by the hearth, waiting for its yearly tradition. I felt excited, yet something felt different this year, off somehow. I couldn't shake the feeling, even as I decorated the tree and helped my parents set the table. When I touched the log to prepare it for the fire, I noticed something strange carved into its bark, a symbol like no other I'd seen before, a swirl with jagged edges. It almost shimmered, but I shook it off. After we lit the log, a golden glow spread across the room, different from any firelight I'd seen before. Goosebumps prickled my arms despite the heat of the fire, and I thought I heard a faint whisper, like someone was speaking far away. At first I thought it was just my imagination. Maybe the symbol on the log was old, some kind of lumberjack's mark. Maybe the whispering was the wind outside, slipping through cracks in the windows. Christmas could feel magical sometimes, couldn't it? Maybe that's all it was. Magic in the air, nothing more. But then, the ornaments started to move. I watched as a silver bell swayed from side to side on its own, no breeze in sight, and the whispers became clearer, forming sounds I almost understood. That's when I started to think about the symbol again, the ancient mark etched so precisely. What if it wasn't random? What if this Yule log was different, special in some strange, forgotten way? It wasn't just the ornaments or the whispers. It was how my family had been acting before we lit the log, tense, distant, snapping over small things. Christmas didn't feel like Christmas anymore, but after the fire lit up, something began changing. My parents started smiling more, laughing even. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. I wondered if the log, or whatever spirit I thought I felt, was trying to help us. And if it was, I didn't want to mess that up. That evening, as I sat quietly near the fire, my dad mentioned an old story his grandfather used to tell about Yule logs, how they were meant to invite good spirits into your home. My mom laughed it off, saying it was just folklore, but she seemed uneasy for a moment. A neighbor had also mentioned earlier in the week not to forget the old traditions. There's power in those rituals, she had said, winking. Now I wasn't sure if she was joking. I started to wonder if I was imagining everything. Was the log's glow just brighter because the nights were darker? Were the whispers just the house settling, the old wood shifting against the wind? Or was something really there? And if something was there, what did it want from us? Did it mean well, or was its help a trap? My mind swirled with questions I didn't dare say out loud, not even to myself. The nights grew stranger. I'd wake up to find ornaments perfectly aligned, the Christmas lights flickering in patterns, and once, the smell of freshly baked cookies even though no one had been in the kitchen. It wasn't terrifying, at least, not yet, but it was enough to make me question everything. The symbol on the log glowed faintly now, as if it were alive. I began to speak softly to the fire when no one was around, asking it questions, but it answered only with soft crackles and faint warmth. On Christmas Eve, the storm hit. Wind howled, snow piled higher than the windows, and the electricity went out. We were left with only the Yule log for light and warmth. My parents argued over what to do, panic creeping into their voices. But then from the fire, a spark shot out, bright and golden. It landed near the hearth, lighting up a forgotten lantern. My dad stared, slack-jawed, and my mom crossed herself. "It's helping us," I whispered. We huddled together near the fire, warming our hands and telling old stories to keep our spirits up. The whispers came back, stronger now, but they weren't scary. They almost sounded like a melody, soothing and kind. My family held hands, and for the first time in what felt like years, we weren't fighting or distracted. We were together, really together. And then I felt it, a shift in the room, like the spirit in the fire was cheering silently, rejoicing in our unity. As the storm calmed and the fire began to die, the golden glow pulsed one last time, and the carving on the log disappeared. I knew the curse, if there ever was one, had been lifted. The spirit, or Yule as I decided to call it, had brought us together. The house felt brighter, lighter, even as dawn crept in. I think Yule stayed with us, not in the log, but in our hearts as a reminder to value each other and our traditions. If the Yule log had a spirit trapped inside it, what other objects in this old town might carry forgotten magic? I can't help but wonder if there are more spirits, more stories to uncover. Maybe we'll find out together. Have you ever felt like a simple tradition brought your family closer, even if you didn't know why? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of the strange and mysterious.